Good morning and welcome back to the Hidebound Convivium. Today is January the 21st of 2022. Uh, if you don't like these sorts of explanatory notes that I put at the beginning of a lot of videos, you can go ahead and skip ahead about a minute, 2 minutes, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk about what's been going on in my life lately, just to sort of give a preamble. Me and my wife took home our baby from the NICU at the end of December. And so right now it's the middle of January. So it's been a fun 3 weeks. And in the last week, I contracted the Wu flu at work. So I dodged it for 2 whole years and then finally managed to come down with the disease, the dreaded disease. I had a fever for about 2 weeks, or 2 weeks. I had a fever for about 2 days, and then I pretty much felt better. Little bit, however, she is still sick. My wife never really got sick. She said she was sick, but I'm skeptical about how bad she really felt. I had a little bit of a man flu, basically, but the baby is still feeling a little under the weather. So pray for the baby, although she's still doing fine and growing, so that's good. But at any rate, that's been our life. It's been feeding and taking care of the little one. So I haven't had a lot of time for making videos, but I hope that today and in subsequent days I can change that. And in the service of that, today is sort of an ad-libbed video that I've been wanting to do for a while, entitled "The Eastern Pagans Contra Solo Fide." So, what precipitated this particular video was I was listening to some of my coworkers the other day as we were standing around on the loading dock, and one of the coworkers was talking about his personal religious experiences, and he said that he spoke to a pastor about whether or not that he was really a Christian. Now, I doubt that this gentleman was baptized, or if he was baptized, he was probably baptized sort of in a fervor of early teenage enthusiasm, and then fell away from the church like I did. But suffice to say, many people, even in the Bible believing South, are not baptized and they don't lead any kind of faith life. However, he was talking about his experiences with this pastor, and he said he offered as proof to the pastor that he was a Christian, that he talks to God, uh, and that he will sit in his car after work. This was the example that he gave. He sat in his car after work and he would have angry arguments with God because he used to be, still moonlights as a nurse, and he would be angry with God when patients would die, which is an understandable reaction. And the pastor asked him whether or not he felt guilty when he harangued and yelled at and was angry with God. And he said that he did. And then the pastor said that this proves that he was a Christian, because he felt guilty for getting angry with God. And I thought that was a strange response for a pastor to give, not only because, uh, as a Catholic and most apostolic churches and high Protestant churches will agree that the principal initiation into being a Christian is to be baptized, and even if you fall away from your baptismal promises, you're still a Christian. But baptism is the important signifier. But the pastor didn't even say anything like, "Do you go to church? Do you give alms? Do you pray? Do you read the scriptures? Do you do any Christian practice?" It was just this very emotive, "Do you feel guilty? Do you have a conscience?" And well, members of more ancient churches like the Catholic Church would say that even pagans have a conscience. That doesn't make them Christian or proto-Christian. It just means that, as John Henry Cardinal Newman said, I believe it was John Henry Cardinal Newman, said that the conscience is the preternatural vicar of Christ seated in every human person. It just means to have a conscience just means that you are a thinking human being with developed moral faculties. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a Christian at all. And what I've found is that this flavor of Christianity that is very, very common in the South is against what Luther would argue, or what very sophisticated Protestant theologies would argue about sola fide, uh, which is their doctrine of by faith alone. Those that hold sola fide would also hold that good works are illustrative of saving faith. So yes, the works don't contribute anything to your salvation, they would say, but they should be present. They should be important signifiers. And a man without works, it would be hard to consider him to have saving Christian faith. So, um, mindful of that background, it reminded me of a passage that I read in a ethnography disguised as a short story collection called Tales from Old Japan by A.B. Mitford Lord Reedsdale. And that is a collection of short stories that was written during the first opening of Japan, first real opening of Japan to the West under the Makairo, after the fall of the shogunate. And he does relate these short stories that he's collected from his travels in Japan, but he also gives these ethnographic sketches in between the stories that help explain the cultural context of the early Makaira era Japan. And one of the stories, or one of the ethnographic sketches that really struck me, was when he's talking about pilgrims at the temple of Fudasama in Meguro. So, and there's a phrase in there that stuck with me that I really keyed in on, and I really wanted to share this passage, just because I thought it was an interesting little window into the mindset of the Eastern pagans. So, I'm reading from page 30 into 31 of the Tales from Old Japan by A.B. Mitford. And if you'll turn the subtitles on, the auto-generated subtitles should be fine, just to read along with me. He writes, "What pleasanter lounge in which to while away a hot day could a man wish for than the shade of the trees borne by the hill on which stands the temple of Fudosama? Two jets of pure water springing from the rock are voided by spouts carved in the shape of dragons into a stone basin enclosed by rails, within which it is written that, quote, no woman may enter. If you are in luck, you may cool yourself by watching some devotee, naked save his loincloth, performing the ceremony called sugyo, that is to say, praying under the waterfall that his soul may be purified through his body. In winter it requires no small pluck to go through this penance. Yet I have seen a penitent submit to it for more than a quarter of an hour on a bitterly cold day in January. In summer, on the other hand, the religious exercise called hiakudo, or the 100 times, which may also be seen here to advantage, is no small trial of patience. It consists in walking backwards and forwards 100 times between 2 points within the sacred precincts, repeating a prayer each time. The count is kept either upon the fingers or by depositing a length of twisted straw each time that the goal is reached. At this temple, the place allotted for the ceremony is between a grotesque bronze figure of Tengu-sama, the dog of heaven, the terror of children, a most hideous monster with a gigantic nose, which it is beneficial to rub with a finger afterwards to be applied to one's own nose, and a large brown box inscribed with the characters Hyakudo in high relief, which may generally be seen full of straw tallies. It is no sinecure to be a good Buddhist, for the gods are not lightly to be propitiated. Prayer and fasting, mortification of the flesh, abstinence from wine, from women, and from favorite dishes are the only passports to rising in office, prosperity in trade, recovery from sickness, or a happy marriage with a beloved maiden. Nor will mere faith without works be efficient. A votive tablet of proportionate value to the favor prayed for, or a sum of money for the repairs of the shrine or temple is necessary to win the favor of the gods. Poorer persons will cut off the queue of their hair and offer that up. And at Horonuchi, a temple in the great renown some 8 or 9 miles from Yedo, there is a rope about 2 inches and a half in diameter and about 6 fathoms long, entirely made of human hair, so given to the gods. It lies coiled up, dirty, moth-eaten, and uncared for, at one end of a long shed full of tablets and pictures, by the side of a rude native fire engine. The taking of life being displeasing to Buddha, outside many of the temples old women and children earn a livelihood by selling sparrows, small eels, carp, and tortoises, which the worshipper sets free in honor of the deity, within whose territory cocks and hens and doves, tame and unharmed, perch on every jutty, frieze, buttress, and coine of vantage. End quote. So, what Lord Redesdale is describing in this sketch is very interesting to me, especially the part where he says that faith without works does not avail a good Buddhist. And it struck me that, obviously I'm not a Buddhist, but it struck me that there was something very human and very understandable in the gesture that these Japanese Buddhists um, were taking, the posture that they were taking towards their gods. It seems like throughout most of human history, human beings have had an implicit understanding that religious practice, whether that be penance or asking for a favor of the gods or God, should cost a person something. It should be discomforting, at least, or cost at least some time and attention. This is the most interesting thing because I've found that in the practice of Catholicism in particular, the most important thing and the most important aspect of religious practice is actually sacrificing attention, and it's the hardest thing that I find to do. I find myself daydreaming very often in Mass, for example, and really the giving of attention and focus, especially when you don't want to, especially when your mind thinks that it has better things to consider, is really part and parcel of the sacrifice of the religious life. And this is something also that these Buddhist pilgrims implicitly understood, because these penances and these mortifications and these abstinences are also ways to draw the person's attention to the holy thing, to the deity that is being reverenced. And so I find that this attitude prevalent in both the West and the East is really the default or baseline attitude that human beings have towards the divine. Not just the mortification of the flesh, but also the mortification of the mind. And that really runs contrary to this solo fide doctrine that has become in vogue in the modern era, especially in my region, because we have this strong tradition of Christianity in Protestant Christianity in southern United States, and it would be hard to imagine us abandoning that wholesale. But at the same time, we've lost the capacity or attention to really be intentional about our religious practices. And so that's how we end up in a place where you can have a pastor who, with very little self-awareness, will say things like, well, if you have a conscience, you are a Christian, and the default or baseline status of a human being then apparently is being a Christian. There's no work involved, there is no intentionality involved, and that just seems flatly wrong. So if it's a fact that the Eastern pagans can can pick up on, and something that the Western pagans, I think, have also picked up on, and something, of course, that's in the Christian tradition, both Catholic, Orthodox, and the high Protestant churches, then this should be a fact that is so self-evident that it would give us pause whenever we hear these affirmations that with very little effort we can consider ourselves to be Christians. I don't mean to denigrate anyone's Christian faith, but rather to call them to a deeper conversion and to baptism and the graces which the sacraments offer. So I hope I haven't offended anyone, and of course, feel free to let me know in the comments whether you disagree with my analysis. Do be sure to read through the Tales from Old Japan, because I thought it was a very good ethnography, and especially since it's published before the modern era, so it has that flavor and editorializing that you expect from travel narratives from before the 1950s, say. So, at any rate, I hope you check those things out, and I hope that you consider what I have to say here. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Godspeed and God bless.